Okay, good evening, on behalf of Sri Lanka Association for Advancement of Quality and Productivity, I would like to welcome all of you for our seventh webinar, Together We Rise, that's the title. And just before we start our event, I would like to give a brief introduction to our association. We have founded our association in 1996, and it's a successor to Quality Circle Association, which was founded in 1989. And we have our vision to be the premier organization nurturing world-class excellence in quality and productivity in Sri Lanka. That's the vision we work on. And we are purely a voluntary organization comprised of professionals in Sri Lanka who would like to uplift the productivity and quality in Sri Lanka. That is our vision. And part of this webinar series also to uplift the quality and productivity in Sri Lanka. And we provide in-house training and 5S activities within Sri Lanka. One of our key events is National Convention of Quality and Productivity Award Ceremony, which we hold annually, which is the only forum that recognizes flow workers for their achievement towards quality service. And we are proud to be part of our association. And I would like to hand over to Mr. Sarnapala, who would introduce today's presenter. And Mr. Sarnapala, over to you.
So talking about Jayanth's son, Jayanth Murthy, is the Joint Managing Director, South Asia and Africa Kaizen Institute. I think he commands over 24 years of focused training and consulting experience in the improvement domain. That means, to talk about lean Kaizen, this is what, whole heap of things behind him. Very, very versatile gentleman. A trainer and a coach of lean concept to various organizations. Has trained and consulted in over 30 plus countries, introduced and designed Kaizen, lean deployment for several manufacturing and service organizations in India and overseas, pioneered the application of Kaizen for governments in 2004. Mauritius subsequently designed and launched Kaizen for the government of Kenya and for a state government in India and the central government of India. And now, I've known this gentleman for more than, I think, 16 years with my relationship with Kaizen Institute. And without further ado, I hand over the proceedings to Jayanth Murthy. Over to you, Jayanth-san.
Thank you. So thank you very much, Mahinda-san, and an absolute pleasure to be sharing my little bit of awareness about this process called Kaizen with my friends from Sri Lanka. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining the street. And as he's walking down the street, he notices that there is a lot of crowd at the street corner. And there is a lot of noise. People are making noise, and he wonders what's happening. So he goes closer to the crowd, and when he reaches this crowd, he notices that there is a 3-storied building and the building is on fire. So there's smoke coming out from the building. It's a 3-storied building, and some people are trying to call the fire brigade, the police, and people are shouting, and you can imagine there's a lot of commotion and noise. And this man is looking at this building, and suddenly he notices that there is a window on the 3rd floor of the building. The window is open. There's smoke coming out from the window, and a human hand is raising, and he can see a human hand through the window. And when he looks at this human hand, he gets really concerned and gets really worried, and he rushes closer to the building and looks up at the window, and to his horror, he notices a lady holding a small baby, and she's screaming. She's saying, "Save my baby, help me." So immediately this guy shouts from the ground floor. He says, "Throw your baby, I'll catch your baby." And when he says this, immediately a few people around him in the crowd, they say, hey, are you crazy? What are you saying? What kind of an instruction is this? You are asking this lady to throw her baby from the third floor? Are you mad? But he doesn't listen to anybody. And he repeats his instruction. Please throw your baby. I promise I will catch your baby. And by now, everybody around him are very angry. They're really ready to punch him on his face. And looking at the situation, very tense situation, he looks at the crowd and he shouts to everybody. He says, please, all of you, just please shut up. Okay, I'm a professional football goalkeeper and I can do this. I can catch the baby. He's so confident that the people say, okay, I mean, there's no way they can stop him. And the mother, of course, is very desperate. The situation is desperate. She decides to release the baby from the third floor. And you can imagine, my friends, the baby is coming down and this guy is getting ready for the most important catch of his life. There is tension in the air. Everybody is watching what's going to happen. And finally, he manages to catch the baby perfectly, gently into his hands and takes the baby down, throws it in the air and kicks the baby, and the baby goes flying 20 meters down the road. So good evening. And I know it's very unpleasant on a Saturday evening to talk about kicking babies, but just relax, calm down. This is just a joke. And my first question to all of you, my friends, is if one or two people, if the host can let a few people unmute, or if you can give them, I want one or two people to respond. Why do you think he kicked the baby? Anybody? Why do you think he kicked the baby?
Habit.
Yeah, yes, habit and his practice.
Habit, practice, any other reactions?
Instinct.
Instinct, very good. Anything else?
Taking risk.
Taking risk, okay, very good. I think
it is SOP for a goalkeeper to pick up the ball and kick it back.
fantastic.
So he followed an SOP.
Thank you, Mr. Host, for this. And can you please mute everybody? Thank you so much. Fantastic reactions, my friend. Somebody said it is a habit. Somebody said that is what he was trained to do. And I really like the reaction. Somebody said it is a standard operating procedure. That's what a football goalkeeper is supposed to do, right? As soon as you get the ball, you kick it and keep the game going. And the funniest one I've heard is somebody telling me the reason why he kicked the baby was because he was getting ready to catch the mother who was going to jump next. Oh my Lord, you can imagine what would have happened if he was trying to catch the mother. So my friends, I totally agree with you. And the reason why he kicked the baby is, as somebody said, habit. And this little English word is the central point of discussion today for the next 50 minutes. HABIT. Very simple English word, but it can change the world. Habit is something so powerful, and we are all victims. We are all an outcome of our habits. What we are in our life depends on our habits. What we don't achieve in our life also depends on our habits. So powerful this concept of habit is. Of course, all of us on this call today, webinar, all of us have personal habits. And during this COVID-19 situation, we are seeing a lot of new habits, right? A lot of personal habits. People are, what I call as, new personal habits, like washing your hands and social distancing, etc. And all of us have habits, but we are not born with habits, right? I mean, we acquire our habits as we go along in life. And the funny part is, looks like it is easier to acquire bad habits than good habits. Somehow that's the irony of life. Have you ever wondered how many kinds of habits exist in this world among human beings? And somebody might tell me that's a pretty stupid question, because there can be millions and billions of habits. But if you really think of it, there are only two kinds of habits: good habits and bad habits, right? Habits that work for you, habits that don't work for you. My friends, I'm not here to discuss personal habits, but organizations also have habits. And I'm interested in organizational habits. And just like personal habits are of two types, good and bad, organizations also have good habits and bad habits. And these are built over time. And the journey from our current habits towards better habits, that journey is Kaizen. That journey is excellence. That journey is called operational excellence, whatever you want to call it. But it is a journey from our current practices, our current way of doing things, to finding a better way of doing it, and then making sure that that new better way becomes a habit again until you find another way. So it is, you start from a standard, you find a new standard, then you move to another standard. So moving from current to a better standard is Kaizen. And Kaizen is an immensely popular word, and different people have different understanding of Kaizen. And I represent my chairman, Masaki Imai, as a student of Kaizen. I will share with you on a very humble note today some few things that the way we look at it at the Kaizen Institute globally, what Masaki Imai thinks about Kaizen. So we are talking about habits, organizational habits, and there are also two types, good and bad. And what's very interesting is when you take a bunch of habits, is called culture. So when you take all the habits existing in an organization and you put it together, that assimilation of all your habits, good and bad habits, is called culture. And culture seems to be the biggest and the hottest topic. If I ask somebody like Mr. Mahinda Sarapalana that, sir, you are the CEO of the company, a bunch of companies, what do you want really? What do you want? And the good chance the CEO will say, oh, I want to change the culture of my company. I want a quality culture. I want a culture of excellence. I want a culture of customer focus. I want a culture of continuous improvement. Everybody talks about culture, but what the hell is culture? As Indians and Sri Lankans, we all understand what is agriculture, right? But how do you build organization culture? And I think my next 40 minutes is, I'm not going to be talking about improvements because improvements can be Rambo Kaizen. Rambo Kaizen means making some improvements here and there, but that is not culture. Culture is how do you, the true essence of Kaizen is it is a culture. So just remember, the whole idea here is that Kaizen is a culture. It is a culture of continual improvement, which you all know, but it is with a very special twist. It's a culture of improvement by eliminating all kinds of waste. The focus is eliminating waste. And I'll be talking about this because there are different ways to make improvements, but the special variety of improvements achieved by eliminating waste is Kaizen. And a formal definition, of course, Kai means change, Zen means good, so Kaizen means change for better. That's the meaning. And it is also often referred to as continual improvement, or CI, continual improvement, CI. And somebody was asking me the other day, Jayanth, why should we have continual improvement? Why should we aim, or why should we have a goal of developing a culture of continual improvement? It's very simple. The simple answer is because our problems are also continual in nature. Don't you agree with me? When do we have in our life a situation where there is zero problems? And a wise man told me that the only time when you will have zero problems is when you are dead and gone. In fact, you have to be thankful that you have problems because it's an indication that we are alive. So if our problems are continual in nature, our ability to improve and solve those problems should also be continual in nature. Otherwise, who will win? Problems will win. But if you are playing football 11 versus 11, it's an equal, both the teams are equal. But if problems are winning because your improvement efforts are weak, then you know what happens. So continual improvement is something that we have to build as a culture. It's not a easy thing, but that is what the fun is all about, right? Doing what is a challenge. So again, a lot of people ask me, how do you define culture? Culture is a mentality. Okay, culture is it consists of two things: thinking and acting. put together develops that mentality. Okay, and that mentality, culture always reflects some kind of mentality. So if you see people belonging to X culture in the world have certain kind of mindsets and mentality. Your religion will give you, it's part of your culture, and people belong to different religion have different mindsets, right? And mentality means both a way of thinking, your paradigms, and acting. And we have to change both. Unfortunately, a lot of people engage in some actions without the real clear thinking behind it. The paradigms are not, very clear. So, for example, they may just do some 5S, some cleaning, and the real thinking behind it, why we should do it, is not clear. And some people have a lot of clarity, conceptual clarity, but they don't, convert it into actions. But when you have the right paradigms plus the right actions, you really can change the world. Of course, lean is a very popular word, and people often ask, how is Kaizen and lean connected? It's a very simple connection. Lean is the result and Kaizen is the process. Lean is the result, Kaizen is the process. And for example, I have always been overweight. I have a battle of the bulge. I'm a little obese. And if I have to become lean and fit, I have to engage in some continual improvement activities. I have to continually improve my exercise regime. I have to continuously improve what I eat, how I take care of my diet. So if I don't believe in continual improvement, I will not become lean. So lean is the result and Kaizen is the process. Unfortunately, many managers and CEOs, they want results. They don't want to invest in the process. They don't have the patience to invest in the process. So if you want a mango tree, which will give you beautiful fruits year after year, you have to take care of the roots. You have to water it. You have to fertilize it. And that's very important. So another point I'll quickly make before I move forward is that essentially the definition is, as Masaki Mai says, Kaizen means every day, everyone, everywhere engaged in making improvements. Every day, everyone, everywhere engaged in identifying and fixing problems. But what happens in reality, it is not every day, everyone, everywhere. It is someone, someday, and somewhere doing improvements, right? If you really look at your own company, maybe that's the challenge you have, okay? It is someone doing it, a few people who are inspired. If you have a Kaizen or lean coordinator, they'll say, hey, you are the Kaizen guy, you do it. I'm busy. So it is someone, it is somewhere. Maybe you do it only in production. What about distribution? What about design, R&D, procurement? Can you go and just exercise your right arm in the gym? What about the rest of the muscles in the body? So a lot of people think Kaizen means factory, lean means factory. That's absolutely nonsense. It is improving the whole value chain. It is a culture is not for just the father or mother. It is for the entire family, right? So that same way, it has to encompass, all functions. So it's everywhere. It is not somewhere. It's not just in the factory. So when you talk of success, ultimately, you build this Kaizen culture because you want success, right? You want to, as a business, as an organization, you want to become successful. If you do adopt Kaizen or principles as a country, you do it because you want to make your country successful. And there are two drivers for success. The first important requirement for becoming successful is very good strategy. Of course, strategy is very important because if you don't have strategy, you're directionless. But apart from strategy, or what comes after strategy is operations, execution. And as a student of Kaizen, we strongly believe that operations are slightly more important than strategy. I know some of you will jump at this, but please jump. I like that jumping. And we believe that if your strategy is weak, your operations can overcome some of the weakness in the strategy. But if your operations are weak, no matter how good your strategy is, nothing will happen. Please think about this with a pinch of salt. There is some truth in this whole thing. And of course, I'm not saying strategy is not important, but a good combination of strategy, excellence in strategy, excellence in operations gives you excellence in your business, excellence in your organization. So you need both of it, a judicious combination. But I'm going to be focusing more on operations because I'm a believer that operations, that particular muscle, the muscle of operations is slightly more important than the muscle of strategy. Let's move forward. Something to support the statement I made. A lot of literature and survey indicates over 60% of great strategies fail because of poor execution. I don't know how many of you will agree, how many of you have experienced it, but a lot of excellent strategies fail because they are not executed well. The operations really are bad. And CEOs who have been interviewed, they say that, oh, we are very good, very excited. We are very good in making strategies, but only 40 or 50% of them say that we really know how to execute things very well. And also very sadly, most senior people, senior management find strategy very sexy, and they would sit through a whole day of strategy meeting. But if you ask them to sit through a whole day and discuss and find ways to improve operations, they'll say, oh, let the operation improvement happen by my boys and girls. And this is the problem. The problem is, if you only want to play the game of strategy and leave the details to the boys and girls, you will be in trouble, because the real success lies in execution, in looking at the details. Very important. And of course, how do you measure operations? One simple measure of operations is on-time, in-full, error-free performance. Whether you are a hospital, if your hospital is operating well, you are able to give on-time services to your patients, and your services are full, complete, whatever is required, everything available under one roof, and it is error-free. And when I say hospital, I'm not talking only of clinical errors. It is not as if, making sure that you operate the right limb, because you hear a lot of cases where a patient goes to operate the left limb and they'll end up operating the right limb. I'm not talking of those errors. Of course, those errors are clinical errors, also are to be taken care of. But I'm also talking of transactional errors, wrong billing, wrong invoicing. You're charged for something that you never consumed. And many times, transactional errors are a big irritant, a big issue. People say, yeah, I mean, the quality of this company, the product is good, but it's so difficult to deal with them. So difficult to get a quotation from them, so difficult to get an invoice from there. There are errors, there are shipping errors. So it has to be, when I say error-free, I'm not only talking of the product error, but the entire experience has to be error-free. So just like ease of doing is important for a country, there should be an ease of doing business with a company. The company should be, such a company that vendors feel that it is easy to do business with the company. Customers should feel it is easy to deal with the company. And of course, the employees should feel it is a great company to work for. When your vendors, your customers, and your own employees are having an easy experience with you, I think that is really a symbol of excellence. So on time, in full, error-free, all the three are required. This is what the customers want. Even if you go on a Saturday evening to have a pizza in a pizza place, what do you want? Do you expect the pizza? Suppose you order for a pizza and a Coke. You want your pizza to come on time. You want the pizza and the Coke to come together. And of course, when you get your final bill, you don't want the bill to say one pizza, one Coke, and one ice cream. You'll say, hey, I didn't have that ice cream. You don't want that situation. So on time, in full, error free is extremely important. And what happens when you have poor operations? You land up employing a lot of resources, but still your on time, in full, error free performance is challenged. And the goal of improvement, the goal of Kaizen, is how do you optimize or even reduce the resources but at the same time, improve your on-time, in full, error-free performance. And I think I've been noticing that after or during this pandemic and post-pandemic, becoming operationally excellent, becoming very fit and lean and agile is going to become very important for survival. Because everybody will have similar strategy. Everybody will probably work on new pricing. They will all try to push, but it is the person who operates on time, in full, error free who will probably win. And it becomes even more important post pandemic. This is my belief. So how do you improve the operations? So when I talk of operational improvements or improving any operations, for example, you want to improve your sales operation. So the CEO goes and tells the sales manager, hey, Mr. Sales Manager, please improve your sales. Please improve your operations. There's a good chance that the sales manager will tell, yes, sir, I will improve my sales, but please give me more salesmen. Please give me more products. Please give me some more advertising budget. Please give me some iPads for our salespeople. Please give me, please give me. You give me and I will give you improvement. Go to the production guy. Say, hey, improve production. Yes, sir. Give me more people. Give me more space. Give me some more equipment. Give me a forklift. Give me that. Give me this and I will improve. The point I'm trying to say that the moment you say improve, a common paradigm is improvement through addition. They'll say, give me something. People will give you a shopping list. So you give me this and I will give you improvement. So one way to improve is called improvement by addition. This is, I'm not saying this is wrong. This is a legitimate way of improvement. But when you add and improve, you need money. And if you have unlimited money, please use this methodology. Use throw money and you buy improvement. Of course, if you can throw all the people in your company out and only get Harvard graduates, nothing less. Throw all your machines and buy the top at the end global best quality machines. Of course you can do that, but this is called improvement by using the power of money. But on the other end of the spectrum, there is one more way of improvement, which is called improvement through deletion. And the science of deletion is called Kaizen. And what Kaizen says is, you have to delete before you add. Don't rest, don't go to sleep till you have found all the ways to delete all the waste. Because if you're going to use the power of money, it's a very lazy way to improve. If you have no brains, Masaki Mai says, then use money. But if you have brains, please try to use it first. And irrespective of where the world will go, whether the world will go down IoT, artificial intelligence, industry 4.0, but the human brain will always remain supreme. Right? That is the belief of every human being. And as long as we have the ability to think multidimensionally with emotions, looking at from different scenarios, I think we will always be invaluable as a race, right? So deletion is the science of Kaizen. Operational excellence is the journey of deletion and not the journey of addition. And I am not saying that don't add. You need a judicious combination. That is why I use, I'm using this plus sign here. You need a judicious combination. But the question is, are we deleting before you add? And that is what you have to keep reminding yourself. And when I talk of deletion, some of you who are listening to me are probably making already a list. Oh, I have to delete that Paul, that Peter, that Rama, that Sharma, that Gupta. Hang on, my friends. I am not talking of deleting human resources. And that's exactly what I'm very afraid. That's why I said don't cut cost, cut waste, because during this pandemic, post-pandemic, a lot of organizations will engage in cutting cost at any cost. It is like a pair of scissors. Chop, 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 chop. You go around and you start cutting. The first thing that people normally do, a very lazy approach, is to cut people. And what kind of people? The frontliners, people who earn 10,000, 20,000 rupees. Are they going to cut the CEO's salary? Maybe not. Cut the managers or cut the managers' benefits? Maybe not. The frontliners are attacked first. Somebody will say, don't advertise, cut down on this, don't repair your machines, don't oil your machines, don't take care of. And very often, when you go into this kind of knee-jerk cost cutting at any cost, you are going to attack your muscles, the muscles of your company. So my friends, the big question is, what do you delete? And in any organization, in any process, we always know that a very small portion of what you do in our typical day or life is actually value adding. A lot of what we do is all wasteful. I don't have the luxury to going into the details, but just remember that anything that you do in life, from the time you wake up till you go to bed in your own life, every day, something creates value and something is waste. Waiting at the bus stop for your bus, waiting for the car to be brought to your Porsche by your driver, okay? Waiting, because your internet connection is slow, waiting to connect. All kinds of waiting, redoing something, okay? Reworking, waiting, all these things, our life is surrounded with waste. The same way in our processes, very small percentage really creates value, rest is all waste. And the whole focus is on eliminating this waste. That's the whole journey. And this waste, as you all know, is called muda, mura, muri. They come in, these are three enemies of efficiency, three enemies of productivity, three enemies of profits. If you let these enemies enter your gemba, your workplace, your processes, then these enemies will rob you. They'll make you weak. So what you need to understand, my friends, is in the human body, you have muscle and you have fat. I don't know but if anybody is a doctor, medical doctor listening to me, but if you ask any doctor, should I reduce the fat in my body or reduce the muscle? I think you know what the answer is. If you reduce your fat, you become better, healthier. If you reduce your muscle, you'll become weaker. The same way, in every organization, in every process, there is a muscle element, there is a fat element. And eliminating that fat is very important. That fat is muda, mura, muri. And when you eliminate these muda, mura, muri, I will not go into the details. Muda, there is 7 kinds of waste. I think most of you would be aware. Mura means variation, variability. And the measure of variability is sigma. And Six Sigma means almost a zero variation situation, right? And Muri means all the burden on equipments and all the burden on people when work is performed. When any work is performed, there is burden, physical burden on the burden on equipments. And the reason why you do TPM is to eliminate the Muri on your equipments, right? So Muda, Mura, Muri are three enemies, 3 fat which you have to identify and eliminate, okay? And that's very important. And when you eliminate this Muda, Mura, Muri, and I'm representing the Muda, Mura, Muri in this value chain, all the red elements are Muda, Mura, Muri, the green elements are value adding activities. The focus waste and the flow improves. So I'm going to very quickly take your focus to this word called FLOW, flow. My friends, flow is the most important concept, because, this concept called flow is so important. Even in our human body, what is flowing? Blood is flowing. Oxygen is flowing. What happens if the blood flow stops? You have a heart attack, you're dead. Same way, in an organization, there are 3 kinds of flow. There is a material flow and there is an information flow. And the focus the focus of, of Kaizen is to basically identify the obstructions to flow of materials from the time the material is ordered till it becomes a finished good, or even all the way till it is sold, and the obstructions to the flow of information from the customer's purchase, requisition, all the way to an information going to your vendor. So there is a material and information flow. And the idea is to eliminate obstructions to this flow. And when you do that, what happens is your flow improves. And when your flow improves, your cash flow will improve. And what I want to tell you is that cash flow is the most critical thing, especially after COVID. It will become very, very, very critical. Suppliers will demand to be paid faster. Customers will delay payments. How do you deal with cash flow? How do you take care of your cash flow? In any case, positive cash flow is the most important measure of successful business. Net positive cash flow. More important than percentage of profits you make. Profits will come to you maybe later, but cash flow is what you have in your pocket. What you have in your pocket is more important than future profits. Right? Suppose you have a friend today, this evening you meet a friend and he says, you know what, 10 years later my grandfather will die and he will leave me a big house and property worth $1 million. You'll say, oh, very good. And then he'll ask you, my friend, do you have 100 rupees? Can you get me a beer? And you have 200 rupees in your pocket and you can have a beer today. Maybe you can start a business today, buy a beer and give your friend with a profit. So you are definitely a much more richer man because you have cash flow in your pocket than the man who has some, future profits. So the point I'm trying to make is the only way to improve your cash flow is to improve your material flow, and material flow is also impacted by the information flow. So the whole business of operational excellence, the whole focus of Kaizen, one of the best books we have written in the Kaizen Institute, of course, our chairman, Mr. Masaki Imai, wrote the first book called Kaizen. The first book in the world called Kaizen was written by my chairman 36 years ago. The book was called Kaizen, and that's when the book became famous, and he started the Kaizen Institute all over the world. It operates in 50 countries. And we started the Kaizen Institute in India, later in Africa and South Asia, almost 20 years ago. And later, our chairman wrote the second book called Gemba Kaizen. And now he's 84 years old, he's writing his third book. And another book that we have written in the organization is about flow. Because flow. Keep it flowing. Gemba Pantari, keep it flowing. Remove the obstructions to flow. If you are exercising every day, you will not have obstructions in your heart and you will have a healthy heart. A healthy heart is a healthy body. So flow. So where do you improve this flow? The improvement of flow must happen in all aspects of your business. Okay. You have to remove the obstructions in new product development, in procurement, in, of course, manufacturing or make operations, and in distributions, in sales, and of course in all your support functions. But unfortunately, when the moment you say Kaizen, lean, operational excellence, a lot of people think that it is only related to the factory. That's a very wrong thing. Because an organization is much more than a factory, right? Much more than a factory. So in the Kaizen Institute, we do a lot of work in the area of NPD, new product development, how to reduce the time to market, time to TTM, how to, we call it accelerated development or Kaizen in new product development. And that's a very important thing. For example, we are working with a drug manufacturer in India, trying to reduce an average 20 months is the development time for a drug. We're trying to reduce from 20 months to maybe by 30–40%. And that can save a lot of money. But more importantly, they will be in the market before the competitors. So, new product development. What about in procurement? So there is a lot of pull-based planning you can do. You can do a lot of work in sourcing because there's a lot of money in procurement, and you can release that. Of course, when you talk of manufacturing, that is the traditional application, reducing the throughput time, improving flexibility, reducing lead time. But I feel the real big money lies in distribution, and there is a lot of work we do. After a few weeks, I will be sharing with you. I've been interviewing a lot of Kaizen champions. My a substantial time has been interviewing a lot of Kaizen champions, our clients and also non-clients. And one of the clients I was interviewing yesterday, I call this Kaizen Spotlight, Conversations with the Champions. That gentleman told me they've been implementing, working with Kaizen systems from the past 2 years, one of our clients in southern part of India. And he told me they've been able to reduce their inventory from almost 500 crores of Indian rupees by almost 45% to about 250 crores, 275 crores in 1.5 years. In 1.5 years, that's a phenomenal. And their service to the market has improved at the same time. So their order fill rate has improved. They miss less orders, and at the same time, the total inventory in the system is reduced by 45%. They're jumping with joy. That is because even before we started in the factory, we worked on the distribution, and of course, very soon we also started working because we connected the distribution, created pull, and simultaneously made the factory capable of responding to the pull. Both are important. Demand creation and demand reaction. If you don't work on both, then it's a problem. So I'm very sure many Sri Lankans will understand the word called Sampurna. Sampurna means complete, holistic. Have you ever wondered why many of these Japanese practices, they are called total productive maintenance, total quality, management? What they're trying to say total is holistic, Sampurna. And that is what means, please look at adopting these principles in all aspects of your business, not just, in one aspect of your business. So let me move forward, my friends. So again, just a quick reminder. The mindset is how do you cut, how do you delete and improve? That is the mindset. It is not about adding, it is not about plus, it is all about minus. And this journey is about minus. And if you look at it a little spiritually, the human quality, the peace, the restfulness, is when you start deleting, right? Deleting thoughts, deleting aspirations, deleting expectations. So even at a very, people say that if you want to really attain peace, you have to, delete your constant greediness, constant thirst for more power, money, right? So this delete is a very powerful thing. And when you take Kaizen to that level, it's a phenomenally powerful concept. So now the last few minutes I'm going to spend, I talked about culture, I talked about all these things. The big question is, how do you build this culture? How do you build this culture? And what I would like to, the way I would like to explain this is that the concept that all of us are familiar, operating system and tools. Many of you are watching this webinar on a computer, on a mobile phone, and whether it's a mobile phone or a computer or laptop, there is an operating system and there are tools. You're using an app called Zoom. It's an app, it's a tool. But for the Zoom to work, you need an operating system, an iOS, or I don't know if you're using Microsoft, Windows operating system. A lot of people, when they buy a computer is so and so X amount of money, but the operating system is 20,000 or 15,000 licensed version. They'll say, oh, do we really need an operating system? Can't I just use it without I don't want this operating system. Can you just give me the tools? Can you give me Microsoft Word and PowerPoint? Why should I spend money on this operating system? Correct? Now, will these tools work if you do not have an operating system? What is more important? What comes first? What is to be loaded first? The operating system is loaded in the factories in most cases, and then you can buy the tools and keep adding tools. You keep adding apps every day. But the sad part is the operating system is very quiet. It is very quiet. You don't see it. But whereas all these tools, you see it, you touch it, you can click it. But don't think that what you see is the truth. Many times the more powerful thing is what you don't see, and that is what called is the operating system. So if you really want to transform your organization, build a culture of excellence, you have to understand this operating system. And the operating system that I'm talking about is called the Kaizen Change Management Model, the KCM model. This is the KCM. This is the operating system. And this KCM model requires you to develop 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 different kinds of muscles. And unless you have develop all the muscles in your human body, remember, you will become weak. If you only have very good muscles in your right arm, it's not enough. You need right arm muscle, left arm muscle, your muscles in the abdomen, muscles of your thighs, everything should be strong. Muscles of your heart has to be strong. The first muscle that you have to develop, very important, the first muscle is called what I call as the muscle of, the ability to set targets. Many companies have a problem here. This is setting the ocean. Where do you want to go? If you get into a taxi anywhere in the world, the first question the taxi guy will ask you, sir, where do you want to go? And if your answer is, I don't know my destination, he'll say, please get out of my taxi. So first is you should develop the muscle, the ability to have a clarity and do a KPI cascade. The clarity should be visible to everybody, not only the CEO. Very often the clarity is very good with 4 people, total company 400 people. Rest of the people don't know what to do. What is the use? The second muscle is called, once you know where to go, you should have the muscle to go there. That is, you should have the muscle to make the improvements and go in that direction. You should have muscle to go in that direction, to make the improvements. Because if you have targets, but if you don't know how to drive your car to the target, you will become frustrated. You will be in the same spot. Now, the third thing is, a lot of people can make improvements, but improvements behave like rubber bands. You know, rubber bands. Sri Lanka is very famous for rubber. Rubber band. What happens with the rubber band? You stretch it, and if you leave it, it goes back to same size. And improvements behave like this. You make an improvement, and if you turn your back, maybe after a few days, few weeks, few months, there's a good chance what you improve will go back to original state. That is because people don't understand the third muscle, which is very important, which is called the daily habits. This is called Nichijo Gemba Kanri. Daily work management, daily Kaizen. And if you don't do daily Kaizen, and if you just do improvement Kaizen, you will improve, but nothing will be sustained. You will have rubber band Kaizen. Improve, go back. Improve, go back. So these 3 things are very important. But to support this thing, you need 2 more things. And that is the 4th and 5th. And the 4th muscle is called the developing the leaders, the leader muscle, the leaders, leader Kaizen. What is the role of leaders in making sure that the direction is clear, the improvements are happening and the daily is happening. So there is the leaders are like the glue. They hold everything together. And there is something called leader standard work. There are many elements. Okay, very important. And finally, the fifth element is called the support Kaizen. How do you make sure that this culture is supported, the culture is built? So if you want to build, you have to support it with good training, champions, audit, steering, lot of resources, motivation, etc. So my friends, if you don't build these, if you don't focus on these, what I call as the first one is setting the targets, making the breakthrough Kaizen happen, engaging the leaders, developing the leaders, doing the daily and supporting it, then if any of these 5 pieces are missing, you will not have substantial change. You will do some improvement. It is Rambo improvement. You will do some HAHU. Something will improve. Some 5S will improve. Some TPM will improve. Something will happen. But you will never become a holistically excellent organization. And great organizations, you know, they develop holistically. Great organizations are appreciated by the vendors, by the customers, and the employees. Great organizations are not only those which declare profits. So, imagine you start with a clean slate. You don't know where to go. So first thing, you should know where to go. If you know where to go, you should know how to go there. To go there, you should have leaders should know how to take you there. Once you go there, you should know how to sustain it. And to do all this, you have to support it very, very correctly. And these 5 elements are called the Kaizen change management. That's extremely important. So what the Kaizen Institute does globally, we operate in 50 countries. We work with some of the top organizations of the world, is we develop this culture. Unfortunately, most organizations, most consultants are working in what we call as the tools, in the tool area. Tools don't result in transformation. Suppose you call a carpenter, tomorrow is Sunday, you have some work, carpentry work, you call the carpenter, he comes with a toolbox. You tell the carpenter, hey, give me the toolbox. You relax or you go home, come in the evening, collect your toolbox. Will you become capable of doing what he can do? Don't think the tools will make you a carpenter, because the carpenter has an operating system. And that's very important. So my friends, that brings me to the close of my session. I just wanted to take a second to talk about the organization that I represent. As I mentioned already, we are the word Kaizen is a copyright of the Kaizen Institute. So Kaizen Institute holds the global copyright to use the word Kaizen. So we have written the original books. We continue to be the pioneers and leaders of Kaizen implementation, Kaizen change management globally, 35 years. So we are the authentic company. We are very practical. All the work we do is on the Gemba. We don't do advisory. We operate worldwide in so many countries, and holistic. We work with all aspects of the business. As I said, new product development, R&D, procurement, manufacturing, distribution. And holistic also means we work with hospitals, governments, agriculture, mining, manufacturing, hotels, hospitals, because everywhere there is waste. There is waste in your life, there is waste in my life, there is waste in your office, there is waste in my office. And Mahinda-san has come to our office in India. In every office of Kaizen Institute worldwide, Masaki Imai, our chairman, says the first place you should apply Kaizen is your own office, because if you can't practice it, don't bloody preach it to people. And that is very important. It is very easy to preach, very difficult to practice. So we live the Kaizen way. We try very hard to live the Kaizen way, because unless you live it, you can't practice it. And there are hundreds of so-called consultants and trainers, but they themselves will never apply it. There are hundreds of accountants whose own books are a mess. What is the use of such a life? Thank you very much for your attention. We can open it up for your questions, sir. Thank you so much for your patient listening. I will stop sharing and keep my audio open.
Thank you, Mr. Jayanth, for your wonderful presentation, Ms. Anupala, and thank you for arranging this. If anybody would like to ask questions from Mr. Jayanth, you can unmute yourself and present your questions to.
Okay, one quick question to you, sir. You see, we started off with the very basic aspect of habit.
Yes, sir.
Habit is a killer. It can be good or bad, but generally, most of why we are attending these sessions are because we have bad habits. We want to cut off the waste. So how do you essentially pinpoint in a few words as to how best to inculcate habit in yourself versus just talk about it?
You see, so if I understand your question correctly, how do you build habits, right? That's your question.
Yeah, basically move from where you are to another and essentially that the new habits becoming part of you.
Yeah, there are, there are different ways to build habits. I'll just give you a quick example. One of the ways, especially in business, in the business context, personal habits are different, business habits, how to do it in an organization. I'll just give you a quick illustration. You see, suppose I have a habit of eating chewing gum, or a chocolate, and I always carry some chocolates in my pocket. And one day I'm visiting a street bazaar, or a street food market. It's a very noisy street market, pretty cluttered, disorganized. And I'm in that street bazaar, and my habit, I put my hand in my pocket, I find a chocolate, I eat it, and I'm left with a wrapper of the chocolate in my hand. When I'm in the street bazaar, what do I do with this wrapper? Maybe some people will drop it in a dustbin if they find one, and I'm sure Sri Lanka is a very clean place. You will definitely do that. Maybe not so in India. In some places, people are not educated or not conscious. There's no dustbin available, and they maybe it'll happen in Sri Lanka. It will happen in America, and you will either put it in the pocket or drop it in the dustbin, or there's a good chance if it's in a dirty environment, you'll drop it on the street. You go home. Next morning, you have an appointment at your very famous hotel, the Grand Cinnamon Hotel. At 8 o'clock, you're supposed to meet somebody important. And you reach at 8 o'clock, you enter the Grand Cinnamon Hotel. It's a beautiful hotel, great environment, chandeliers, music, great reception. And you're waiting to meet your appointment, and your hand goes into your pocket, you find your favorite candy. You put the candy in your mouth and you're left with the wrapper, and you're in the Grand Cinnamon reception. What will you do with the wrapper? And there is a good chance you will put it in your pocket or you look for a dustbin. The point I'm trying to make is, why do we behave differently at the reception of the Cinnamon Hotel on the street side? I think the big thing is the people are the same. Our behaviors are different because of the environment. So one way to change behavior and to enforce behavior, which becomes your habits, is to change your physical environment. It's difficult to change people by just giving them gyan or giving them more and more, webinars and just talking to them. Talk doesn't change. It is changing the environment has an impact. Actions has an impact. So even if you take a very uneducated man in a way, and you take him from the street and put him in cinnamon, even he would also react to the environment. He will also become conscious. He will not probably spit or litter if he's suddenly in a good environment. They become conscious, and that consciousness is the starting point of change. I hope that answers. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Jayanth, hope you can hear me.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for the excellent presentation. My question is, since now we are living in the post-COVID situation, and most companies are cutting their cost, can you please share some some practical Kaizens that your clients have done to improve their companies?
During this situation, you're saying?
Yes, because all the companies are cutting the cost and they will not allow money to flow to the company. That's my question.
Okay. So as I was telling you, I was just talking about, a particular client of ours. They have been having a lot of challenge with manpower. Some manpower is not available. Some manpower is not permitted to come because of social distancing, and they have been able to use. I would just got this example today. This feedback. They've been able to use very powerful concept of TWI/JI, training within industries, job instructions, to rapidly reskill people. And this is very important. You see, normally to teach, I'm sorry to use this, to teach some new tricks to an old horse or an old, I don't want to use the word dog, it takes 20 days, 30 days, I don't know, X number of days, X number of hours. But if I give you a method by which you can reduce from 20 days to say 20 hours, what will your reaction be? So one of the ways that we are supporting our clients to deal with this pandemic is to make people multi-skilled and using TWI/JI. That has really helped them. They're able to better utilize, move around people, teach them different skills and better utilize people. And also a lot of work on optimization of, what I call as inventories. That's also been able to help them a lot, because that's very important, optimization of inventories. So these are the focus areas. Cut waste and don't cut your people. There is a lot of saving potential. There's a lot of money to save. Engage the people in improvement. This is the time to keep your people motivated. If you carry your people now, the people will carry the organization. But if you throw your people out, post-pandemic, whether it's a V-shaped recovery, U-shaped, I don't know, whatever recovery, if your people are not with you, if you lost your muscles and you're only left with fat, God bless you. And this is what happened in 2008, 2009. A lot of people, a lot of organizations did panic cost cutting. And eventually when the opportunities came back, those companies who had lost their muscles lost market share. So watch out, be careful. It's difficult, but you have to differentiate between wheat and chaff. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
Any more questions?
No, you said about the 3-module course and the Kaizen. Then I have a question that how well we can use this concept in a service sector.
In the service sector, sir, if you have no waste, if you have no challenges on time, in full, error-free delivery to customers, if you have no customer complaints, then please don't use anything like this. But if you have problems in your business, if you have challenges in your business relating to customer, cost, efficiency, on-time delivery, variation in service quality, if you have problems, then this is perfectly applicable. I don't know which service sector you belong to. We have been implementing with Taj Group of Hotels. There is a Taj Hotel in Sri Lanka. We've worked with so many Taj Hotels. We're working with so many hospitals. We are working with banks. We are working with Government of India, with governments. So there is service industry is a fantastic opportunity, because people in the service industry, they have less standards and they think standardization is difficult, eliminating waste is difficult, but there is tremendous opportunities.
Okay, Mr. Jayanth, I think thank you very much. Time has really gone fast. And again, I would like to thank you for taking part to today's webinar. And good night. And please visit our website. You can get a lot of details of our forthcoming events and about our association. And you also can take part and give support to this our Sri Lanka Association for Advancement of Quality and Productivity. As I said at the beginning, our target is to uplift the quality and productivity in Sri Lanka, and you also can be part of this team. Thank you very much and good night. Have a good day.